Well, here we are. Thoughts from the office. Rednecks Pride Outdoors. Apparently, that last post I made on Facebook about still hunting got a lot of questions and a lot of remarks. And what I realized is this: the average hunter, when you say still hunting, they think of a hunter today sneaking through the woods like an Indian and trying to sneak up on a deer. And although that can happen, that is not what still hunting is. Sneaking up on a deer is stalking. And you're not going to stalk a deer in the woods. Stalking is you see the animal, you know where the animal's out, and you go into it, you stalk into it. Still hunting is a whole different concept that I believe most hunters do not comprehend, do not understand. I learned how to still hunt as a young 14, 15-year-old kid, teenager. And ironically, I started still hunting, get this, rabbits. Rabbits was first. Squirrels was second. Quail was third. Pheasants was fourth. Say, what? Still hunting? What are you talking about? You see, excuse me, the concept of still hunting is not sneaking up on an animal. The concept of still hunting is the same concept that you would use stand hunting, only you keep moving your stand. I remember as a, young kid, 14 is when you can start hunting by yourself, and that's when I started still hunting by myself. I had grown up with rabbits around me. I had been chasing rabbits with a bow since I was probably 7 or 8 years old. Never killed one with a bow, but didn't stop me from trying. I know it's against the law, I know. But back in them days, back in the 60s, nobody paid attention to that stuff. And my dad was from Oklahoma, and my grandfather here in Jersey, and my grandfather in Oklahoma. My grandfather in Oklahoma was born in 1898. My grandfather here in Jersey was born in 1907. So I might not have been taught. But you understand what I'm saying. But I learned as a young kid, watching his rabbits coming into my yard. I lived in probably the middle of a bunch of fields and stuff like that. And I didn't grow up next to people, even though I was in a town. I grew up. My closest neighbor was probably half a mile away. And I learned that about right before dark, sundown, if you will, 15-20 minutes before sundown, depending on the day. If it was an overcast, maybe a little earlier. If it was sunny, maybe a little later. But I learned that the rabbits would come out of the thicker stuff to go into the yard to eat the green grass or the shorter grasses or the vegetation. And what I started putting into place there was all I had to do was just wait for them. But when you're on the edge of a 30-acre field, they could be popping out at any place that they wanted to. So what I learned to do was go to a spot and look ahead of me for, I don't know, however long my brain told me to, 5-10 minutes, whatever. And just watch that edge. And I knew that my gun would shoot 40 yards or so. So then after that, I would move up, 50 yards maybe or so. and stop, and instead of just looking forward at this point, I would keep watching my front and my back, where I just came from, for 5-10 minutes, whatever it is, and then move again. Just keep hopscotching. And that was a productive way of killing rabbits. And back in them days, it's still, the law is now, and it was then too, in New Jersey. You could hunt 30 minutes past sundown. And at sundown, them rabbits would really start to come out. Okay. So I learned if I tried to sneak up on a rabbit, I couldn't do it. But if I went to a position, waited for it to cop out, I could get it. And if it moved further ahead of me, then, try to be in that spot. Okay. First lessons in still hunting. So what was I doing? Still hunting was not sneaking up on animals. Still hunting was getting myself into a place where I knew the animals was going to show, and wait for them a short time, and if they didn't show there, move to another spot that I figured they was going to show, and wait for them there. The next one was squirrels, like I told you, and I real quickly found out squirrels was, well, I tell you what, squirrels saw and heard a whole bunch more than most people give them credit for. And I learned how I had to be a little bit more stealthful with squirrels. But I would do the same thing. I would walk 20 yards as quietly as I could and stand for 15, maybe 20. Walk as quietly as I could for another 20 yards. Stand for 15 or 20 minutes. Okay. Why stand so long? Because I knew that the animal would hear me a lot of times and would quiet down. But I'd learn from deer hunting and watching squirrels that you give them a little time with no disturbance and they'll usually pop back out in 10-15 minutes or so. Okay. I remember one time sitting in a deer stand having all the squirrels around me flanking me like crazy, like they always do. And all of a sudden one, you know how they stand up and they kind of like look around, and one did it, and all of a sudden another one. I don't know how many squirrels I had there, but it was a bunch of them. And they all of a sudden, all of them stopped and stood up on their, stood up like they knew, stand up. And then, gone, man. What the heck happened? They'd been around me for a half hour or more. They couldn't have saw me and done that. Then about 5 minutes later, I could hear the I turn around and look, and here comes this old hunter coming down off the hill, walking down this logging trail. Them doggone squirrels heard him long before I heard them. And they took off quiet, didn't show up, didn't say another word. Boy, they was gone for a good half hour after that. Pay attention to what I just said. I've been in the stand other times when the squirrels run around you like they do. And then I heard the squirrels stand up, go back to feeding. I keep watching the sound, and a deer would pop out. I remember being in a stand a couple other times. Squirrels do that alert, set up, and I hear squirrels take off like a rocket ship, climb up a tree, and instead of being quiet, fox come running through. You see, I learned that squirrels could tell the difference in the noises. Something that many of you won't believe, but I tell you what, I never believed it either until it was showed to me. The squirrel showed it to me time in and time out, time in and time out. All right. Well, if a squirrel could do that, a deer can do that, right? Next critter I learned how to still hunt on was quail. I was blessed back in them days to have a lot of quail around us, and you know, I probably, like I said, I was blessed to grow up in fields and forests. I had 3,000 acres across the street from me of a wildlife management area, and behind me, to the left and to the right, I had probably another 400 acres that I could just run through and have a good old time, learn things as a kid. Not hunting. I learned a lot of this stuff not hunting. I learned a lot of this stuff just being out there and observing critters. And had my blinker on to turn, and the doggone car wouldn't let me over. You know how they are. Anyway, now I learned the same thing. What I could do is I could go out with and I learned how to call quail as a young kid, like I just said. And I could give a call. And they would answer back, and I could figure out where they was at, and then I would walk in, give another call, have them answer me, walk in a little bit more, and when I knew I was pretty close, then I would start still hunting them. That's not ethical. That's not right. That's not whatever. You know, I'm gonna tell you what, that's a woodsmanship. All right? That's woodsmanship. If it makes you feel better, I would make a movement to make them fly so I could shoot them. I wouldn't shoot them on the ground, if that makes you feel better. And then I learned how to do quail or pheasants the same way. I would still hunt where I knew the pheasants was going to be at first light, you know, legal shooting time, or where they was going to be at towards the end of the day, last legal light shooting, and still hunt and do the same thing. Walk the edge of the woods in the field and get the pheasants coming out. So what I'm showing you is this. There's different, still hunting isn't just for deer like everybody thinks. I've also given you a lot of information that I'm wondering if I should tell you that I gave it to you or not. That coincides and goes right into deer hunting also. And since most people are here tuning in because of deer hunting, I'm going to key on deer hunting right now. Remember what I said at the very beginning? That still hunting is not sneaking up on deer. You're not going. You're not sneaking up on deer. If you don't know the deer is there, you ain't sneaking up on him. That's just that flat out simple, okay? It ain't happening. I don't care who you are. You are not an American Indian. I'm supposed to have a little bit of Indian, Native American in me. I don't know if that's a fact or fiction or whatever, but I'm supposed to, all right? And I certainly ain't Jeremiah Johnson or Hugh Glass, all right? I ain't sneaking up on an animal. Very, very seldom do I sneak up on an animal not knowing it's there. Very, 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 very seldom. But I can still hunt and kill an animal, and I've done it. With that being said, the first thing you got to realize on sneaking up and still hunting deer is for every one time you get a shot, for every one time you make a connection, for every one time you're successful, there's a whole bunch of times that it was, oh shoot, there he goes, or shucks, I can't get him, or boy, that didn't work out, did it? But that's what adds to the fun. I tell you what, that's what adds to the fun, because the more I don't get her done, the more I want to get her done. That's what adds to the drive, is still hunting. Still hunting is nothing more than, like I said, I think I said it, like I said, stand hunting, just moving your stand. Number one rule. when still hunting, you have got to still hunt where you know the deer are going to be at and when the deer are going to be there. You're not still hunting. Everybody envisions still hunting as sneaking through the woods like an Indian, like I told you. Still hunting is going to knowing your deer and their habits. So number one for still hunting, you have to still hunt an area that you know the deer are at, number one, and you got to know what your deer are going to do and where they're going to be and why they're there. Boom, key number one. Why are the deer in that spot? Because if you can figure out why the deer are in that spot, then you can figure out when and why to be there. Okay, be there at a certain time. Why? Because they're coming to a food source. Be there at a certain time. Why? Because they're looking for a bedding area. Be there, why? Because they're loafing. See, you got to know your deer. You're not just meandering. Guys walking through the woods and a deer jumps up in front of them and they pulled the trigger and they killed that deer. Yeah, they were lucky. Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And there's been a lot of deer killed by a lot of lucky hunters. But when you still hunt, you have got to know where, how, when, and where. The 4 W's. Same as stand hunting. If I want to kill a deer in the afternoon at 3 o'clock, where do I want to be? I want to be just outside the bedding area, but before the food source area. Why? Because deer are going to get up. Everybody knows deer are going to start getting up around, 2:30, 3 o'clock. In the summertime, they're up all day long. It's not uncommon to go past a hay field or a soybean field at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Look out there in August right now. Well, it's not August anymore. It's September. Back in August. And see a deer feeding in the field. June and July was especially true. But as we get into the hunting season, when you're going to be still hunting, and the pressure's been on, especially if you go longer and longer and longer into it, there's 3 phases that you want to kill a deer in. You want to kill a deer right at his bedding area, going back in, their loafing area, or their travel route going to the bedding area, food area, or the food source. They're the 3 spots. If you want to kill a deer at the food source, what time are you going to be there? That last hour of daylight, or that first hour of daylight. Usually it's the first half hour of daylight. If you can sneak in and don't go through the food source, but you're just off the food source where they're coming in off of that big field. Midwest does that a lot. Their food sources are so vast that it's easy to get up against the timber before the bedding area as they're coming in off their food source and daylight area. Here in New Jersey, South Jersey especially, our fields are smaller, so it's harder to hunt the food source in the morning. So you don't want to still hunt the field edge in the morning. But if I want to hunt the field edge, if I want to still hunt the field edge on a food source, then I'm going to be still hunting that last hour of legal shooting time. And guess what style of still hunting I'm going to be doing? You guessed it. Rabbit. Just like it described in Rabbit. I'm right on that edge. I'm moving 10, 20 yards. Why can I move 10, 20 yards? Because it's quieter, I can see better, and I know better what's going on. But I'm going to stand there 10, 15 minutes easy. And when I do move forward, I'm going to look at my back trail and my front trail for that time frame. And I'm going to, since I'm using a bow, if I'm using a gun, I can do it differently. But if I'm using a bow, me personally, because I'm using either a recurve or I'm using a lighter poundage compound, and in that scenario I could use a long bow too, because there's nothing stopping me from movement. Okay, it's a lower poundage pull, Why is that? Because I got to get it up without any effort, get it on target, and release it. Okay? There's no holding it, aiming it, and all that stuff. You're typically going to be fast, move. Okay? So out on that edge, there on the feeding area, all right, I'm moving and I'm watching the edge, but I'm keying in on the edge and the area in which I know the deer are more likely to come out. Well, I do that all the time. Still, stand hunting, yep, you do. Except for you're limiting yourself to that one spot when I'm still hunting the whole edge. And increasing my chances, if you will. If I'm going to still hunt the loafing area, what time am I going to do that? Last 3 hours. So if it gets dark at 7 o'clock, shooting time's at 7:30, then I'm going to be out there about 4:30, 3 o'clock maybe even. And I'm going to move a lot smaller. I'm going to be moving a lot slower and a lot less. So in other words, I may go 10. I may only be going 10 yards in the thick stuff. I may be able to extend it out 20 yards into more open stuff, like up North Jersey where you can see further. You can probably extend it out your 20, 30 yards. And you're going to wait 10, 15 minutes. Why don't you wait as long? No real reason, other than I'm trying to cover as much ground as I can, as slowly as I can. Does that make sense? Yeah, I hope. No, I know it didn't make sense, but that's what I'm trying to do, okay? But I'm looking a whole bunch more, and I'm listening a whole bunch more. My movements is, we call it moving like the wind. You're not jerking. You hear a noise, you don't jerk your head. You move. It's more smooth. How's the wind move? The wind moves slow and even, and all of a sudden abrupt movement. If you're going to do an abrupt movement, you got to do it when you know you can. And otherwise than that, it's slow, steady movement. It's not no movement. It's slow, steady movement. You know, you watch a house cat stalking up on a bird. It stops, but it's moving a whole bunch too. And how's the movement? Slow and easy. You're blending in. This is where you do, when you are walking, you are moving your shoulders around the bushes, slow and easy. You're ducking under things, slow and easy, the whole time you're scanning, the whole time you're listening. Everything is calculated. Everything is high alert. You're not in a daydream. You're not watching the Tweety birds. Everything is methodical. And you're in the area where they're wanting to loaf, meaning they're hanging out, they want to get out in the field, but it's still just a little early. Boom. If you're hunting midday, then you're going to be where? In the bedding area. And in the bedding area, that's where you get into a oh shoot type thing. It's extremely hard, but it can be done. It's better to do with snow, okay, because you're quieter. Your movements is very, very short. In other words, you're only moving 10 yards, and you're standing for you're there for 10 minutes, and then you move another 10 yards. I mean, this is where you are in slow-mo. This is where you are. It's like molasses in January. Your movements are methodical. Your movements are even-keeled. Nothing fast, nothing rapid. Everything is just flat-out movement. Moving like the wind. Your steps in this position here is as much as you can make it stalking. That's where you're putting down, depending on the type of stalking step you do. Most of the time, I come down with my toe and roll my foot in. Okay? Inside, toe, roll my foot in. Then put my heel down. You're doing that for a couple reasons. You're sounding, remember what I talked about back at the squirrels? You're sounding like you're not a human. When you put your foot down, and then you roll it in, you're feeling with your foot. That's why you can't do it with rubber boots. Rubber boots are the hardest things to stalk. Still hunt or stalk in. I hate them. Your best things are be sneakers or your hunting type boots that are more sneaker-like, moccasins or something like that. You want to feel those sticks underneath you. You want to feel that debris underneath you. You want to hear that. You want to feel that snap before it happens. That way you can lift your foot up and replace your foot. But when you put your foot down, toe first, okay, you can put it toe first and then come back. Yeah, it's a little bit louder, okay. Whereas you put your foot and toe in and out, roll in, or put your foot in, toe first, in, roll in. You don't get that crisp noise. A human, when they're walking, it's heel, foot, heel, foot, heel, boom, toe, heel, full. Deer, when they're walking, toe first. Fox, pad down. That's your rap. Somebody said to me this here lately, how can you walk through the woods without making a noise? You can't. You can't. The wind can't go through the woods without making a noise. Get that? The wind can't go through the woods without making a noise. The snow can't fall without making a noise. The rain can't fall without making a noise. The deer can't walk without making the noise. The squirrel can't move without making the noise. What am I getting to? Don't sound like a human. A lot of deer have been killed still hunting. A lot of woodsmanship needs to be had to be successful still hunting. The problem with us today, and myself included, we're not patient. If it wasn't for my years as a teenager, and that's going back, well, I'll be honest with you, I'm 64, I'll be 65 in November. If it wasn't for all those years from 7 years old to 14 to 20, if it wasn't for all those years learning this stuff, this old man probably would have a worse time doing it than I do. I am by no means what I used to be when I was in my 20s. In my 20s, I could sneak up on you. I got a lot of friends that will attest to that. I got a lot of people that sat in my deer stand and me sneaking up on them, and at the base of the tree said, "How you making out today?" Wondering if they was going to fall out of the tree stand or not. I can't do that today. I did get within 15 yards of a guy last year, though. Scared the tar out of him. "How you doing?" I thought he was going to throw his gun in the air. So the old man ain't totally lost it, but I've lost more than 5 steps, that's for certain. My point is this. Still hunting can be done. It's exciting. It's productive. You know, guys say, I see more deer out of the tree stand. I do too. I see a lot of deer sent from still hunting. The same as you. I see a lot of deer. Do you kill them all? No. Why not? I don't want to. Yep. Well, I couldn't get the shot. They was too far. Yup. I got the shot, but I missed. Oh, yup. See what I'm saying? Again, I would laugh. The way I am today, still hunting and stalking, back in my 20s, I would laugh at myself. Say, you wanna be? I'm gonna try to get better this year. That's why I made that post. I saw that little bantam bow there. Can't find my green curve. I have no idea what happened to that son of a gun. But I had a good friend of mine call me up and said, Jonesy, is your longbows any good? No, they're too high in poundage. I got a couple. He's gonna give me a couple longbows. You know what? I ain't got enough pride. I ain't got too much pride not to take them suckers. Longbows a little hard, but I think I'm gonna start on the field edges first. Why? I don't have to be as good as I need to be. Then I got my compound, my little bantam. That's like 53 pounds. I can pull that right back, get it on target, shooting instinctive, bing, and miss. But who cares? I'll be taking 20-yard shots. I'm not taking no 40, 50-yard shots. Can't with a 50-pound bow or a 45-pound long bow. Can't. Don't want it, don't try. I love my crossbow. Won't work in this. Too heavy. I'll fatigue myself out. 60-pound up, compound, too heavy a draw. Can't get it back in smoothly, quietly, that I need to. Need something you can pull back and finesse it back in. Long video. This is one of those how-to videos that I wanted to do. I didn't give you everything. I did. I gave you a lot of stuff. I just didn't key in on it. And you might want to listen to this whole thing. Listen to this old redneck 3 or 4 times. I hear a lot of guys in the trapping world. They say, you know, Jonesy, it takes me 4 or 5 times listening to that video, and then I start to see what you're talking about, but ain't saying you're talking about it. That's what I'm doing here. Hey, listen, if you got to kill deer up in the tree, wait them out. If you want to see if you can kill deer, let your feet do the walking. All right, I'm tired of jawing, and with tradition, I'm going to leave it here. Thoughts from the office, Rednecks Pride Outdoors. I'll catch you next time.